Very good evening to everybody. I'm very privileged to be here, especially talking about this subject. The previous two speakers, Prashant sir and Dr. Tarun Mandal, had very elaborately spoken about um, rape and sexual violence against women as a societal issue. I too concur with that. Uh, but I think it's very important that we understand why this sort of violence is happening, and rather not go behind things which is not going to help in any way. I think the primary thing in any change, any process towards change, is to understand things correctly. But I think, especially with regard to women, I think we have been doing it very wrongly. And even if we understand, I think I, for a long time, it has not been sort of pushed in the right direction. So before going into the Hathras case, I would also want to tell that um, rape is a very very heinous crime. Sexual assault is a heinous crime. This is the only incident where one's body is sort of pillaged and then used against the same victim. So it's a very very unique and a very very social crime, and we have to see it from that perspective. Coming to the Hathras case, I think it is one of the most important cases as far as our jurisprudence goes, because I can clearly see the difference between Hathras case and other cases. Especially in this case, I think it is a double whammy, where it was a patriarchal mindset combined with a caste atrocity, which is both manifesting in this crime. We can see it in various ways. The way in which the victim was treated, the way in which her statements were accepted and recorded, the way in which her body was cremated, the way in which the family was intimidated, and the way in which the entire propaganda mechanism worked towards demeaning the victim. All this clearly is a mix of both patriarchal mindset and a caste hierarchy. I cannot help myself by bringing in the comparison with Nirbhaya incident in 2012. The major differences which anybody could see very clearly in this case is, when Nirbhaya incident happened, the whole country rallied behind her. Whole country rallied behind the event, and they wanted to bring all the accused to task. Which was not present in this case. In fact, I think the case only took up some sort of grabbed some national attention once the victim died. Before that, it was not much. Not certainly like Nirbhaya case. Secondly, the way in which the police force was totally behind catching Nirbhaya's perpetrators, that was completely missing in this case. Here, in fact, the police were trying to sort of demean the victim and not accept. In fact, the initial complaint was launched on the 14th, and from September 14th, I think an FIR was not registered until September 20th. The statement of the victim was also registered only on the 22nd. It's almost like 7 days, 1 week time for a heinous crime, and if police is not registering. And we can see the same contrast with the Nirbhaya case, in the way in which the police went up on investigation and nabbed the criminals. The third thing which we could very clearly see is, once a person dies, especially administration tries to, whatever may be the condition, but once a death happens, the administration tries to stay with the family. The administration tries to make sure the dead are given enough respect, and also because that matters a lot, and that is going to create a permanent mood, which was completely missing in this case. I remember in Nirbhaya case, the prime minister went to the airport to receive the body. That was the level of respect shown to the victim. And here we could see they've just bungled up the body, as if it was not a person who died, and it was an animal, and then they cremated so cruelly. I am very ashamed to say that the district administration did this. I am completely loss of words for this particular act. I think this grabbed attention of the nation. Otherwise, even that would not have happened. So they had cremated. So there's a big contrast in the Nirbhaya case. And in fact, the Nirbhaya victim was given the best treatment possible. In this case, we could see that the victim was first admitted to the Aligarh Muslim University. From there, she got transferred to Safdarjung, and still, a proper treatment was not given, where they could have immediately sent her to AIMS and saved her life. So again, there's a huge contrast between Bhaya case and this case. Not that I want to draw a comparison, but I want to really point out the pain points of being a lower caste, born to a lower caste in this country, irrespective of we all agreeing about the atrocities against women. Here it was a double whammy. That is what I wanted to point out. And the way in which after that, the way in which the police continuously tried to demean the victims, by saying that rape has not happened, knowing very well the definition of rape, which has been amended to the various criminal acts, and also the judgments of the Supreme Court and various other courts on what constitutes a rape. A senior level police officer coming on air and national television and saying that we didn't find any indication of spermatozoa inside the body and things like that. Like, it really demeaned the whole administrative process. And UP is known for this kind of an administrative behavior, but here it was very clear that they were trying to act under the orders of the highest level. And even then, I think now the Allahabad High Court has taken matters suo moto, and they are posing the same question: would you have done this if it was your relative or your daughter? So if administration doesn't have that kind of an empathy, I don't think how they will stand and protect the people of this country when the politicians go berserk. So there's again a great contrast between what happened then and what happened now. It is a complete double whammy that whatever happened. And even after that case, in on October 4th, the CM came and said that it is a larger conspiracy, and immediately on 5th October, 21 FIRs are registered all over UP, and 7 of these FIRs are there in the in Hathras itself. For reasons like posting something on social media and stuff like that. It's like completely lawless. I should call it as a banana republic which is happening. And Nath, who has no moral value, he himself has been accused in various caste atrocities. Sitting as a CM is a national, not only a national shame. I think it is a shame to the entire humanity. And with people like that, we can't expect much out of this government to take us in the right direction. So even after that, we could see a lot of patriarchal statements coming out. The MP Balia saying that Sanskriti should be given to the women at a very girls from a very early age. Another very strange statement made by Ranjit Bahadur Srivastav, saying that women like of this character can be found dead in many places in UP. He himself is saying that that is what UP is all about. So coming to taking a cue from that statement, I want to make a very important thing that rapes don't happen on like single incidents. It is a continuum. Everybody knows. Dr. Tarun Mandal also said every 3 minutes a woman is getting raped. There are around 34,000 cases every day, which we are every year, which we are experiencing. So this is a continuum. It doesn't happen in one. So only the media reports it when such incidents happen, and they come out with various theories. And again, media, the way they conducted themselves in this Hathras case is a complete letdown, and it was a rush towards TRP. At least they should have this empathy to avoid a TRP during such things. And we could see the various drama which they unfolded, in this particular Hathras case. Even before Hathras case, they were comfortably misleading the whole country in this Sushant Singh Rajput case. Today, I was seeing a tweet from a person saying that we are Sushant Singh Rajputians, SRians, like Indians, West Indians, things like that. So they have very nicely created such following. And another one important thing that I wanted to point out to you, it was very evident the government engaged a PR agency to do to malign this victim. That's one of its kind. I think this is the first time a PR agency was involved in this case of trying to tell rape didn't happen and stuff like that. Even today, I think the whole narrative of the UP government is that they are very clearly with the Thakur clan, which is the caste of the UP's chief minister, and doing things against the Dalits there. So we have to understand, the rapes happen in a continuum, and we have to also question ourselves why this is happening for so long. And every time we bring in a criminal law amendment or whatever we ask, this continues. In the Nirbhaya case, I remember there was a huge cry for the death penalty. People were wanting blood. People wanted to see the victims dead then only. But after all that amendment and Justice Verma committee, nothing happened. It's just the number of cases are completely increasing. So this is something which we have been saying for a long time. These sexual crimes don't happen in a vacuum. It is very reflective of the society that we have. We'll be surprised to understand how patriarchal we are. So there are a lot of theories which this rape itself is a very research subject, and sexual assault is a research subject. And there are many theories, psychological theories and cognitive theories, which says that the man has to. There are so many things, and I think the latest feminist approach to the whole thing is in understanding, how it's a societal issue. That it is a societal issue, and it is what aspects of the society that we should see to see how bad a society is. There is something called rape myths, which is actually a very well researched area where a society believes in certain rape myths. That is indicative of how bad the society is. And very confidently you can, as long as these beliefs remain in the society, you can very confidently say that rapes as a crime and sexual crime as such is not going to stop. It is going to continue. So one indicator for anybody to understand whether rapes will stop in a society is to see whether the society has rape myths, accepting rape myths. There are many scales like the Illinois rape myth scale, which is a 100-point questionnaire by which psychologists try to understand whether these rape myths are accepted. Rape myths are basically 4 types. Number one, you blame the victim for the rape. Whatever rape has happened, you blame the victim. In Hathras case also, we can now see this happening, saying that there was phone calls between the criminal and the girl, and they were in a relationship. So many things are happening. I think this is the narrative of the upper caste right now, which is going on. So this is one clear indicator of how bad the society, or I would say how rape ready the society is. So one is to blame the victim for the rape. Second is to express doubts or disbelief of the statement of the victim. This is another very common type of rape myth, where people express disbelief, saying that no, this would not have happened. And this is what happened in Hathras case also, where when she complained on 14th, she was not, the complaint was not accepted, and she had to come back. And even now, a lot of people do not believe what the victim is saying. Third thing is that the society tries to exonerate the rapist, which we will try to do, which the senior advocate Prashant Bhushan sir has very clearly elucidated that that happens in every case in India. That they try to, the Chinmayan case is a very important case where we drag, and we try to exonerate. We do very shoddy investigations. We record very shoddy evidences and do that. The fourth thing is to say that there are a category of women who actually are they are that is the category of women who will get raped. So this is again a very big myth which believes, even in our families we say that, if good families are there, rapes will not happen. No, that's a very big myth. Rape happens in every family. Rape happens, sexual assaults happen all along, all types, urban, rich, poor, educated, everywhere. In fact, out of the 34,000 cases we were mentioning, every year around 85% are committed by very close relatives or people who are known to the victim earlier. So it is a very wrong thing to believe rape happens in a dark alley when somebody goes out in the night and stuff like that. No, it happens in your homes. It happens in many places. Any woman would give testimony to this. We can ask. I think 8 out of 10 women would give, will say that is how it happens. And so far we have recorded around 4 lakh crimes. Around 39% of that has been committed by the husbands themselves. So I'll give you common examples of these rape myths, which is very, very very interesting to hear also. One is that, we believe that the woman actually lies about rape. Yeah, that happened in Hathras case also. Secondly, we keep saying that the women, the dress, or the women incited the accused to, by showing off or, not dressing properly. This is another common statement that we would see in that society. Third is that we will say if the victim is intoxicated, she actually, there is the rape happened because she was intoxicated. No, being intoxicated doesn't mean that you should get raped. But that is how our society tries to sort of say that this happened because she drank, or she took a cigarette, or she took drugs. uh, Fourth thing is that rapes are committed by strangers. No, rapes are not committed by strangers. There are cases, but they are individual cases. But the most of the cases happens through acquaintances and family members. Another myth that generally we believe is that once consent is given, then it is always a consent. There's no need to ask another consent. So we keep categorizing women, saying that okay, this lady had already done this and she is like this, of this character. That's very prevalent in our families and our own houses. And second, another very common thing is to believe rape is not rape until you fight it. People, even in the Hathras case, they were fine. They're asking that this two finger test is still is used to check whether some abrasions have happened inside the body, or they keep checking for human the bodily hurts, so that to find out whether the woman tried to resist. The typical Hindi cinema drama where a man tries to rape and a woman resists, and if resistance doesn't happen, it means that it is consent. No, that is not the case. It has been proven very clearly. There are various kinds of at many a times the woman undergoes a process called learned helplessness, and she just shuts down. And so just because she didn't fight or she didn't put up a resistance doesn't mean a rape has not happened. Then again, another bit, they say that real victims of rape, they will immediately report. No, that doesn't happen. In our society, if a woman reports such a case, she will be seen like a walking dead body. And that generally creates a sort of a gap in the women reporting rape. So the last thing is to see the woman as a walking dead, and saying that you have lost all your thing in life and stuff like that. It's just in my opinion, that kind of an attitude makes this rape myths grow. So we can see how whatever I've elucidated, I think many in our own families, we might know uncles, aunties, our own fathers, even ourselves, in our language, how we grow this rape myths within ourselves. So I think as long as we don't recognize that we are a society which accepts these rape myths, and we accept patriarchy, it doesn't going it's not going to support anybody or not going to end these cases. A very good research was done by Madhumita Pandey. a very very famous research scholar. It is known to everybody that after Nirbhaya incident, she went and interviewed around 100 rapists in the Tihar jail. Actually, what happens is that, generally when a rape happens, we start focusing on the victims, or we focusing on the judiciary, or we focus on the police forces, police reforms, but we never focus on the perpetuators. Even in Hathira's case, we don't know what these four perpetrators are, what their thought process was, why they committed this crime. We will not focus on that. Even, in many other cases also, you can see it will be always about judiciary or police reforms or the victim. But Madhumita Pandey decided that she is going to know about what the perpetrators are actually thinking and what made them do this crime. And she spoke to around 100 people who have convicted in IPC 376. So what surprised her was that when she went inside, she thought she's going to meet monsters, people who are psychopaths, and but strangely, or she found that they were all very normal men, with normal thinking, and very just like a brother or a father. But then why did they commit such a heinous crime? What made them commit this heinous crime? She found that there are very common things that, number one, many of them didn't repent for what they did. They said, what we did was not because of us. uh, at the same time, she also met some murderers, and all murderers were repenting, saying that no, what we did was wrong, it was because of us. But as far as rape is concerned, none of, or many of the perpetrators did not believe that rape happened because of them, and what they did was what was demanded at that time, and what they thought the victim deserved at that time. So this is a very unique aspect that we'll have to understand about this kind of sexual crimes. Especially a case was there about a victim 49, she doesn't name. This person says that he had raped a 5-year-old a small girl. He says that because I had raped her, nobody would accept her. Once I go out of the jail, I would go and marry her and give life to her. See, this is the kind of attitude that we have, the patriarchy we have in our society, where this kind of a sexual assault is seen as an entitlement. uh, so not even bothering what the victim goes through and what whether the victim wants. There are many cases where courts themselves have asked the victim to be married to the perpetuator. Recently, a case which has happened, which is still going on, where you go and tie a raki and stuff like that. Very 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 odd understanding within the society, within us, I would say, our families. And as long as that is not sort of questioned, I think things are not going to change. So next, the last thing that I wanted to say is that we have to understand these rape myths are there in our society, and we have to move forward. Now, how to move forward? I would very 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 quickly summarize. The first thing I think we have to do is to first select the right leadership for this country. Now, the current government, BJP government, is a very very backward looking government. They thrive on patriarchy. I think out of all the groups that are there in this country, the women are going to suffer like anything when they are in power. They are going to take the women back for an entire century, I would say. So if at all somebody has the moral responsibility and the right to fight against such a backward government, it is the women. So that is number one. Number two, stop focusing on women. Stop focusing on the victim. Rapes do happen with men also. So stop focusing on the victim. Start focusing on the perpetuator. Start educating your child, your sons, your male children in the family, so that they have the right understanding of masculinity. Right now, what understanding they have about masculinity is a sexual crime is their entitlement, which is something which we has to stop. uh, Third thing is that we always talk about rape, which is an extreme event, but there are many soft events which are leading to rape, which is like talking which is demeaning womanhood, cracking sexist jokes, eve teasing. These are soft things which actually grow this rape myths inside a person. I think even in this Hathras case, as a build up to that event, there would have been some things like that where they have eve teased her and stuff like that. And the moment she reacts, both their patriarchal bad side and also the casteist bad side came out, and they wanted to teach a lesson. Maybe I think that would have been the I think the thing would have happened. Anyway, investigation is going on, but still, these soft events, which are very bad, should be focused upon, and equal amount of the restriction should be given on this. That's very important. The another thing is that educate our women properly so that they don't rely on men. It's high time the women are educated, not because they want to, should know things and stuff like that. I feel the women should be educated so that they are entitled and they don't rely on men anymore for anything. I think this reliance on men is a very, very smart societal move which has kept them as slaves for a long time. That is why they don't educate women, so that they remain second fiddle. They play second fiddle to the man. I think that is something which we should completely stop. How much ever death penalties or how much ever you are going to give is not going to help in any way. What will really help is this societal change that happens within an individual. It happens within our own families. We cannot point fingers to the society. We have to look at ourselves. Even me, within my own language, I'll have to look for certain things and correct it, so that this kind of attitude against women, a very wrong notion of masculinity, goes from the society. Apart from that, we need good leadership to bring in laws and regulations, which are absolutely necessary things, and somebody who will take us in the right direction, not in the wrong direction as the current BJP government does. And I think these are the points that I wanted to tell, and I'll finish my discussion here. Thank you.